Dante!
Take care of Trish for me.
Dante, wait!
Let's take a look at Devil May Cry 5, released for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC in March 2019. The footage here is from the PS4 version. It's been a long time since we've seen a new Devil May Cry game. There was a reboot of the series, released as DMC in 2013, starring a black-haired Dante, but it seems Capcom has decided to forget about that particular game and return to the more traditional style. Back when it first came out, the original Devil May Cry was something we had never seen before. Outrageously over-the-top action with a very acrobatic hero wielding cool weapons in a stylish manner while never neglecting to insult his opponents.
Looks like your master's got you on a pretty short leash. Come on, little puppy. I'll take you out for a walk. Come on, let's go.
But will it work today? Is Dante still cool in 2019? Is this kind of gameplay still any fun? And, perhaps more importantly, was Capcom actually willing to stick to the old formula, or has the new Devil May Cry become an open-world, always-online multiplayer stealth game like so many others? Based on the first 10 hours of gameplay, I'm ready to share my first impressions on these issues.
Where's Dante?
The most pressing matter is probably Dante himself, because you won't get to play as him right away. Instead, you'll be playing as Nero, Dante's young apprentice with a jaw like Superman, as well as a character named V. Nero plays a lot like Dante from the first Devil May Cry, but with no devil trigger. Instead, he uses his prosthetic arm for so-called Devil Breaker attacks. There are several types of arms to equip, and they all give access to different attacks, so there's a lot to experiment with. And then there's V, the so-called mysterious one. V is a summoner, and the way he fights is unlike anything I've ever seen. V fights by giving commands to the creatures he summons. You have a creature assigned to each button, and you can have your pet bird and cat, and sometimes a big golem called a nightmare, use skills and combos while you try to guide V himself out of harm's way. I'm still not comfortable with this fighting style at all, but luckily you can get pretty far with button mashing. I don't really know what to think of V and his creatures, but you gotta give credit to Capcom for creating something quite original. Then there's Dante. Once you clear the first 10 missions, you'll finally get to play as your favorite demon hunter. And he is fantastic. While Nero is pretty decent, once I tried Dante, I didn't once feel like going back. Dante returns with his 4 fighting styles from Devil May Cry 3, so anytime during combat, you can switch to a focus on either dodging, guns, swords, or blocking. There are tons of upgrades and new skills to learn, and it all feels really good. This is, of course, rather important, since fighting is pretty much all you'll be doing. You will be jumping around a little while traversing levels, and there are hidden orbs and secret challenge stages for you to find, but apart from that, the levels are quite linear, and mostly exist to guide you to the next fight. Both regular fights and boss fights are fun and satisfying. The game runs at a very smooth frame rate at all times. Just like in the original, new skills and upgrades will only get you so far. It's learning to predict enemy movement that's the real key to success. This is especially true during the many boss battles. Most of the bosses will initially seem very dangerous, and will probably wipe the floor with you a few times while you familiarize yourself with their moves and weaknesses. They aren't unfair though, and with enough practice you will be able to dodge or even block their attacks. And there simply isn't anything more satisfying than to hear the sound of a perfect block and then watching your enemies stagger. It just feels so good. Before this ends up sounding like a commercial for the game, we have to address the environments. While a post-apocalyptic city and demonic corridors made of human blood are probably a nice fit for the story, it just isn't very interesting, and with very few exceptions, the levels are quite hard to tell apart. So let's hope that the last part of the game takes place somewhere a little more memorable. So, to sum up, so far it looks pretty good. Dante is still cool. The gameplay is very much like I remember it and how it should be, and there is no stealth and no open world. But before we can deliver an actual verdict, we'll have to clear the game, and then clear it again on hard mode. So stay tuned for a full review in the near future.